Hey everyone, welcome to UK Media Warrior. Today's edition is going to be Alien Covenant. Now, I went to see this film yesterday, and I believe it's coming out in the States this weekend. So for those guys over there, have a great time watching this. Now, Alien Covenant. Prometheus, this is the sequel to Prometheus. And these two are obviously the prequels to Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, and so on. Now, in the Alien franchise so far, for me alone, it's Alien and Aliens. The others really don't exist. Alien 3 was just terrible. Alien 4 was okay. It was a fun film, but it had a lot of problems. But Alien and Aliens, for two different reasons, are in my top 10 films of all time. Firstly, what Ridley Scott did with Alien was introduce sci-fi horror, deep space horror, to the audiences, and he did it in such a way that even today Alien is held up as an example of how to do it right. Now, what James Cameron did with Aliens was take that and make it sci-fi warfare horror, which is probably a whole new genre which he sort of made up. But it is. A lot of people just say it's a sci-fi action film. Well, yeah, obviously it's a sci-fi action film. It's a sci-fi war film, if you want to go down that, but I think it is. But it does instill horror elements into it, taken from Alien. So he encompasses all of what was good with Alien. He just beefs it up, puts more people in there, gives you more aliens and more fighting, and it's a fantastic film. Now, Prometheus, Ridley Scott comes back to the Alien franchise and tries to make it more smart, more deep, more theological, trying to answer the big questions. Where do we come from? Who our maker is? Where did the aliens come from? And stuff like that. And it was bland, really. It wasn't Alien. It wasn't Aliens. It was its own thing. But I think for the fans of those two first films, this was really a step down. And after Prometheus had come out with such mixed reviews, Ridley Scott, who had a plan for how he wanted to tell this story moving forward into other Alien movies, had to change up his idea. Either it was his decision to do that, or it was the studio's decision to do that. I guess we'll probably never know. My guess is probably Fox saying, look, Ridley, we love what you do, guy. You're a fantastic director, famous, legendary director, but, you know, Prometheus really didn't hit where we want them to hit. Can you do something about the next Prometheus film, the next Alien film? So Scott had this plan that he wanted to do, this story that he wanted to tell, and now all of a sudden he's got to change it up. And this is sort of the problem with Covenant. Now, let's start with the good points. It's a beautifully shot film. It's Ridley Scott, you'd probably expect that, but it is. I mean, there are some shots of the spacecraft, the Covenant, flying over the planet that are just beautiful. Shots of the planet itself when the shuttle is going down, the lander is going down, are just incredible. The way it's shot at night, with the lightning and the storm effects, it really is a beautiful film to watch. The acting is fantastic across the board. I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, it's a crew that you know, most of them, if not all of them, are probably going to end up dead. So yeah, there are some throwaway characters, but equally there are some characters that stick with you. I mean, Catherine Waterston, who plays Daniels, the second officer, or becomes the second officer after the captain dies and the new captain is put in place, so she becomes the second officer. She's okay. She holds the part. She does what she has to do. Danny McBride, who most people didn't really know what to expect of him because he's normally in more comedy roles, is fantastic as Tennessee, the pilot. So that's good. And of course, then we have David Fassbender. And David Fassbender, as I have said in other reviews for other films he's been in, is perhaps one of, if not the best working actor in the business today. Now, in this film, he has to do double duty as he plays Walter and David, and he's just fantastic. When he is on screen, even if he's not saying anything, even if he's just standing there watching what's going on, you can't take your eyes off him. I don't know what I don't know how the guy does it, but whatever he is doing, you want to watch him. You want to see what he's going to do or what he's going to say. So that's fantastic. Um, the plot itself is a pretty standard sci-fi sort of horrorish sort of film. It's okay. I mean, it does the job. It probably won't satisfy avid fans of Alien or Aliens because you don't really get much of either. It doesn't really come down on either side of that fence. You just get a bit of a mishmash of it, but it's a stand-up sci-fi film. What other good points? You know, yeah, really, other than that, yeah, okay, well, let's have a look at some bad points. Catherine Waterston. I've said she holds her own, and she does. She holds her own in this film with these other actors, but she's no Ripley. She's no Sigourney Weaver. She's not even a Naomi Rapace from Prometheus. So she's a weaker version, a diluted version of those two women, but she's been put in a position exactly the same as Ripley and the character Naomi Rapace played in Prometheus. Sorry, I can't remember. And I've only seen that film once. It really didn't stick with me, so I've never watched it again. So yeah, for some reason, Ridley Scott has basically done the same thing. Alien, we have Sigourney Weaver. Aliens, we have Sigourney Weaver. Prometheus, we have Naomi Rapace. And in this one, we have Catherine Waterston playing Daniel. So he's put basically the same character or characterization in each one of his films. Lead female character who ends up fighting alone against the alien. And that's the main problem with this film. When Star Wars The Force Awakens came out, a lot of people complained that it was basically Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope rehashed, retold. Same story, better effects, but basically the same story, and it was a wasted effort. When I came out of watching Covenant, I was thinking, this is Alien. This is Alien told with slightly more characters, with better effects, better cinematography, because Scott had a hell of a lot more money to use in this one than he did in Alien. But it's basically the same story. Crew get taken out of cryogenic sleep earlier than they should have done, hear a distress call from an unknown planet, go to investigate distress call, crew get infected by aliens, crew come back to ship, crew have to fight aliens, crew get picked off one by one, alien fighting the lead heroine in space at the end, gets stabbed and gets shot out of an airlock. Yeah, I mean, that's the plot of Alien, but that's what happens in Alien Covenant. So, I guess Ridley Scott was sort of like saying, okay, I've got the studio or whoever it was saying, look, I've got to put more aliens in this film because people didn't like my Prometheus deeper thinking plotline. How do I do it? Well, what did I do with Alien? Yeah, people love Alien. Okay, well, if I just basically do what I did with Alien, nobody will know. I'll throw in a few other bits and bobs so it's all to try to hide it. But it's going to be basically the same as Alien. Everyone loves Alien, so we'll do that. That'll work. And it does work, but if you know Alien, if you know the franchise at all, you're going to be sitting there thinking, oh, I know that, done that, been there, got the t-shirt. Oh, she's going to kill the alien by shooting him out of an airlock. Well, there we go, shoots him out of an airlock. So you're going to be able to see what's coming down the pike pretty much before you get there. Other similarities. Well, in the first film, the captain of the Nostromo was a guy called Dallas. He was basically the pilot captain. In this film, the pilot of the ship is Tennessee. I don't know, perhaps Ridley Scott just really loves American place names. I don't know, cities and states, I don't know, perhaps, maybe, I don't know. Towards the end of the film, one of the characters, one of the soldiers, now I'm assuming there are soldiers on this ship in this crew. They wear dark uniforms. They've got ranks like sergeant. And they seem to be the ones that carry the weapons most of the time and do most of the fighting. So I'm assuming, even though it's not said, it's not stated out loud, but I assume that there is the crew, the pilots, the mechanics, whatever, of the Covenant, and then you've got a small selection of security or soldiers or whatever. But anyway, one of the soldiers shoots an alien and gets acid splashed on the left side of his face, and has to be patched up, which is a rip-off of Hicks in Aliens, because that's exactly what happens to Hicks. He shoots an alien, he gets acid splashed on the left side of his face, he has to get patched up. So Ridley Scott's ripping that from James Cameron's movie, so that wasn't fair, really. It just feels like a mishmash of what Ridley Scott wanted to do with his original Prometheus storyline and what he had to do by injecting more aliens and action into this story. It's a mess. It's a mashup of all of this, and it doesn't flow right. It doesn't. There are several scenes where you might have long monologue scenes between characters talking, deep discussion about Byron, Mozart, music, and the reason for being, and all of a sudden you'll split away into a mad action horror gun shooting explosion scene, and then you'll cut back to this scene of these people discussing deeper meaning of life things, and then you'll cut back to more action horror. It just feels disjointed and weird. It's like there's two stories going on here that are running parallel, and every now and then they touch, but basically they're running next to each other, and they're two totally separate stories. It's like characters are off in their own movie while the other characters are off in their movie. So we've got a slasher movie going on over here, and over on this side we've got some deep philosophical, theological discussion about man, the universe, and everything. Do you have problems when you're watching a film, specifically a sci-fi film, because it normally happens more in sci-fi films, when the crew do really stupid things? I suppose it's the same sort of thing as when you're watching a horror film and you say to the person, "Don't go down into the cellar. It's dark down there. There's no lights. Don't go down. Something bad's going to happen." It's the similar sort of thing. This really annoyed me. Now, in Covenant, I had assumed that the crew who get woken up first would be highly trained. This is a colonization ship. This has like over 2,000 colonists in hydrosleep or hypersleep or whatever they call it, deep sleep, cryogenic sleep, and it's also got over 1,000 embryos that they can then nurture and bring to life once they get to the planet. So it's a big ship with a lot of life on it. You would imagine that the crew would be highly trained for this mission. Yeah, not really so much. I mean, in the first Alien movie, the Nostromo was crewed by basically a bunch of truckers. That was pretty much basically what they were. They take the Nostromo, they go somewhere, they hitch it up to something, and they drag that something back to somewhere else. They're truckers. They deal with their alien a lot more composed, a lot more decisive than these guys do. I mean, these people, the second things start going wrong, they start screaming and running around, and total panic and chaos occur. I mean, for example, the first sign of something bad happening, one of the soldiers steps on this pod on the ground, and these spores or something go in his ear and slowly start changing his body from the inside, and slowly starts dying. So one of the other female characters managed to get him back to the lander, on board of which is another female character. Now, they get him into the sick bay, and he starts, basically it's the scene you see in all the Alien films with the chest burster, yeah? It's basically that, but it's that on steroids, and it's coming out of his back. Yeah, you can imagine how nasty that looks and sounds. But anyway, he's sitting on the bed, and that's what's basically going on. So the female crewman who's left on the ship, closes the sickbay doors to quarantine it. Now, that's a smart move. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. The other female who was on the inside, who was going to be looking after the man, is hammering on the door, screaming, "Let me out, let me out." And the other one saying, "No, no, 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 I'm not going to let you out." Ah. I mean, she's scared. shitless. Both are. But anyway, and then this alien erupts from the spine of the other guy. At this point, the girl on the outside rushes off, or stumbles off, I should say, to the armory, grabs a gun, comes running back, opens the door to shoot the alien. And of course, things don't go as planned. She slips up, the alien gets away, she then has to try and survive while the alien's hunting her through the ship, and she ends up blowing up the lander by shooting some fuel pods or something. But the question was, she was refusing to open the door before the alien hatched. Why the hell would she open the door once it had hatched? I mean, okay, she's got a gun, but what was she going to do? She wasn't a soldier. She was a pilot or an engineer or something. So that was just plain stupid. And there are other things all the way through. You're thinking, why the hell are you doing this? This is just so incredibly dumb. I mean, I couldn't get rid of the fact that I thought this crew would be highly trained for looking after these hundreds of thousands of colonists, or sorry, these thousands of colonists on the ship. You would have to have a highly trained elite crew to make sure nothing bad happens to them. That must have happened. That's logical. And you've got the twist at the end is kind of telegraphed. There's a bit where Walter and David are fighting. Obviously, Walter's the good android. David's gone a little bit nutty in the head. And it turns out that he was the one who actually experimented with this black goo that you see in the Prometheus film, and began experimenting to make the alien creatures. He was basically the father of the alien xenomorph you see in Alien and Aliens. He created it. So you see Walter and David fighting, and Walter's got the best of David, and David's reaching for a knife, and then you don't see who wins that fight. So then all of a sudden, Walter appears as they're trying to escape to this other landing craft to escape back to the ship, and you know it's David. It's one of those things that's been used hundreds of times before in movies, and you just know it's the bad guy, it's not the good guy. And at the end, the twist is David's put Tennessee and Daniels into their sleep pods, as they're the only two remaining. And just as Daniels is going off, she realises that it's not Walter that she's looking at through the hatch of a sleep chamber, it's actually David. And she starts freaking out before she falls asleep, and David just waves to her. And then walks off into the hold where all the colonists are held, and puts 2 embryos that is saved for facehuggers into the embryo storage thing. Now, how this is going to move into the 3rd film, I'm not entirely sure. I assume the colonist ship Covenant will be taken over by aliens, and all the colonists will be used to hatch new aliens. I'm assuming that's going to happen. But then what happens? Does it crash? Do we have yet another Earth ship finding a distress call and going to look at the Covenant, the crashed Covenant on this planet? How does Ridley Scott get from the end of Covenant to the beginning of Alien? I mean, he reckons he's got another 4 or 5 films he wants to make, so this will be going on for years. But the twist ending really isn't much of a twist. If you know anything about movies and plot lines, you're going to see this coming from a mile away. So is it a good film? If it didn't have Alien attached to it, if it wasn't an Alien film, it would be a good sci-fi / a horror movie. But because it is part of the Alien franchise, you expect more. And like I say, even if you're a fan of Alien, if you're a fan of Aliens, if you're a fan of Prometheus, you're going to be disappointed because the questions that they left hanging at the end of Prometheus are basically just thrown away. You don't really get answers for them. So you're not going to be satisfied. People who liked Alien or Aliens, again, it's not quite either of those. You're not going to get much of, other than the xenomorph attacking people that's pretty shallow. That's pretty much all you're going to see. So again, it's not much there for you either. But as a standalone / a horror sci-fi movie, it's pretty good. It's pretty entertaining. It's very gory. You're going to see lots of people get killed in incredibly visceral ways. But like I say, if you're an Alien fan, this one, it might leave you feeling unsatisfied at the end of it. So I'm going to give it, on a rating out of 10, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. It's not a bad movie, but it's really not as good as it should have been. To get people back on board after Prometheus, Scott really needed to make this one a slam dunk and knock it out of the ballpark. He hasn't done it. He just obviously couldn't get to grips with what he wanted to do over what he was forced to do, and he's just made an amalgam mess of a movie. So 6.5 out of 10 for me. I hope you enjoy it. Like I say, in and of itself, it's an okay film. So I think you will enjoy it. But after you think about it when you come out, that's when you might start having your sort of like doubts and, you know, that sort of thing. But anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or share this on your Facebook page. But until next time, you guys take care, and I'll see you later.